Hey there, welcome to Mike's Collection, episode 287. I'm Mike, and the part of my collection that I'm going to be talking about today is Mattel Masters of the Universe Origins Wave 14. Now, I have collected this line since its inception, and I have nearly all of the figures they've released. There's a couple of convention exclusives and stuff that I don't have, but for the most part, I have every wave. And I have posted video reviews for each wave. So if you missed any of those, or if you want to go back and check them out, you can go on my channel. You can find a playlist for Masters of the Universe. And there you'll find reviews for waves 1 through 12, plus Castle Grayskull, plus some of the online exclusives, plus some of the vehicles, the box sets. One thing you won't find, though, is a review for wave 13. And the reason for that is I pre-ordered all the figures from wave 13 and 14 months ago, and they arrived months ago. However, there's one figure in wave 13 that I did not get. I was kind of waiting for that one. Was on back order. So I had 3 of the 4 figures, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for Big Bad Toy Store to eventually fill my order for that 4th figure. So I've had 3 of the figures from Wave 13 and all 4 figures from Wave 14 sitting here on my desk. And just because of my, OCD or whatever, I didn't want to skip Wave 13 and go ahead and do Wave 14. I'm trying to do this in chronological order. But time has gone on, and I just got a review from I just got an email from Big Bad Toy Store saying that they are not going to restock that particular item. The figure that I'm missing is Snake Tila. So I've been waiting for them to fill that order. Now apparently they're not going to fill it. So I said, you know what? I guess I'm just going to review the incomplete Wave 13. But as I sat down to do this review, I had Wave 13 right in front of me. I kind of decided on the fly, like, you know what? Maybe I will skip Wave 13 and just go ahead and do Wave 14 because I already have that complete wave here, all 4 figures. And there's still a chance I might track down Tila from another seller. The reason I've been waiting so long is because I had it pre-ordered at Big Bad, and so I just expected them to fulfill that. Now that they haven't, I could just go ahead and order it from Amazon or eBay or something. So if I do that, I don't want to then have to post a review of a lone figure. Anyway, so yeah, this review is for Wave 14. If you're wondering where Wave 13 is, that's coming later. Not that anybody cares. I'm sure nobody's really paying attention. None of you would have noticed if I didn't post Wave 13, but I don't know. I just felt like I needed to tell you that. So it's coming. So we'll get into the figures. But first, what I want to do is, I've been doing this channel for a long time, and I usually assume I'm talking to strangers. For the most part, I've got some regular viewers that like to comment and everything like that. So, guys like Tim and stuff out there that watch all the time, I know I'm talking to you guys. But I don't really think of people I know watching this channel. It's not something I really advertise, like on my personal Facebook or anything like that. So it always kind of weirds me out when I hear that somebody from my work watched my videos or anything like that. Anyway, my mom told me the other day she was at a funeral and she saw my cousin Steve, who I haven't seen in quite a while. She said that Steve told her that he sat down and watched all my videos the other day. So I thought that was a little strange. It's flattering that he would sit down and watch any of my videos, let alone a run of them. So I don't know if he's still watching, but if he is, thanks for tuning in, Steve. I appreciate the views. So anyway, hopefully I see Steve at Christmas, which is coming up soon. But for now, let's talk about my toys. So, I might as well just, I'm going to flip things around and we'll dive right into them and we'll take a closer look. So let's start with the figure I am least excited about in this wave. This here is Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms. Now, Man-at-Arms is a cool character. He is one of the main characters from the Masters of the Universe lore. He was, he's been around since the very first wave of figures in the early 1980s. I had Man-at-Arms when I was a kid. He was featured heavily in the cartoons, even in the live-action movie. So every Masters of the Universe collector needs to have a Man-at-Arms. I just don't think they need this Man-at-Arms. as it's a pretty lame repaint in my opinion. Now, I just kind of had the packaging up on screen here a minute ago. There's not much to note about the packaging, except I do like when they have little Easter eggs on there that indicate figures that are probably coming soon. On the back of Man-at-Arms packaging, there's a little bit of artwork where it shows Man-at-Arms fighting one of the Snake Men in his Serpent Claw armor. Now, that Snake Man is not an established character. He had kind of a long, extended neck with a fin running down it. I don't know who that guy is, but the fact that they took the time to paint this character onto the artwork, they could have very easily painted Ratlore or one of the other established Snake Men on there. But they put this new character, which is a pretty good sign that we might get that figure in the future, which is pretty cool because that looks like a cool character. He looks like he'd be pretty easy to remake using existing parts, but it's fun to get new characters. It's not particularly fun for me to get characters like this that are just repaints of toys we have already. And if you're a toy collector, repaints is kind of the name of the game. You're bound to get repaints. And some repaints I actually really love. Like if they take a character and repaint him into a different character, I'm all for that. I have tons of He-Man in the Masters of the Universe line. Tons of Skeletors too. I think I've got 7 or 8 of them. But I don't mind them because they're more than repaints. They usually have different armor on, and there's usually a justification for the armor. Like if he's if it's Arctic He-Man, he's got an Arctic themed outfit on, or Outer Space He-Man has an outer space outfit on, that type of thing. Some of those variants are a little silly, but they make sense and it's a different outfit. For this Man-at-Arms, it's really just a paint job, and it's not a paint job that makes any sort of sense to me. So let me bring out Man-at-Arms from Wave 1, I believe it was. And this is, this looks like Masters of the Universe Man-at-Arms from the vintage toy line, from the cartoon. He's wearing his classic green and orange with the blue helmet. He's got his mustache there, just like he had in the cartoon. Looks great. This was an essential figure for sure. Now you see with this figure here, he is basically the same. The only thing that I notice that they've changed is on his armor here, which is a removable piece. It's like he's got like this fur trim around the edges, which this one does not have. But otherwise, the details of the armor are pretty much the same. So it seems like kind of an odd thing to just add that. Like there, he's got just straps there, but this one here is a full back armor. So yeah, I'm not sure why that is. But again, this isn't a cold weather Man-at-Arms. Like, that's the kind of thing that would make some sense. If this guy was painted white and they said this was Arctic Snake Eyes and they went through Arctic Man-at-Arms, and they went through the trouble of putting some fur on his outfit, I'd say, oh yeah, that makes sense. They added fur for cold weather. But Serpent Claw, he fights snakes. I don't know why he would change from one shade of green to another shade of green to fight snakes. And then he would change his armor from orange to silver, but only partly. Like, his shoulder is silver now, but his forearm is still orange, and his shin is still orange. It just doesn't really make sense. Even his helmet, he just went from one shade of blue to another. Like, what is the point of this outfit? I just don't understand. Now, he's called Serpent Claw because he has this new accessory, which the other guy doesn't have. So I guess this is supposed to be used to help him catch snakes or whatever. I don't really know how this claw helps him all that much. It's kind of a useless accessory. The claw does come out like that, but the claws itself don't move, so you can't really use it to latch on to another character or anything. So yeah, I don't get it, and I almost didn't buy this figure. I just kind of thought this feels like a cash grab, and even though I want to be a completist with this line, partly for my reviews, also it annoys me that this does not stay on very well. That's been a problem with the Origins figures since the beginning, is they don't hold a lot of their accessories. Now he actually holds his like mallet here quite well, but this thing here just kind of rests on his hand and it falls off really easily. So I'm probably not even going to display him with that thing. It'll probably go in the spare parts bin. But anyway, I did ultimately decide to buy it, as you can tell. Partially because I didn't want to have an incomplete review video, so I partly bought it just for you guys, so I could show it to you and complain about it. But I thought there was some use that I could maybe get out of this figure. And before I talk about that, I do just want to quickly mention, there is precedent for this figure. It is based on a repaint from the 2000X line of toys that came out from like 2002 to 2004. And so they introduced the idea of Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms. So, there is precedent for this, but I thought it was a bad idea back then, and it still translates to a bad idea now. Anyway, so the reason I bought this figure is because this outfit here is worn not just by Man-at-Arms, but it's worn by all the palace guards that Man-at-Arms is the leader of. And they have made other figures of just plain palace guards. So the fact that this guy's wearing palace guard armor, I thought, well, maybe he could be displayed as just another palace guard. Maybe his silver armor represents a change in command or something. Maybe he's second in command. Maybe he's, a lieutenant. Regardless, the armor is similar enough that I thought, he could be another guard. But I wouldn't want him to have Man-at-Arms face because that's a little too similar. So I thought maybe I could change out the head with one of the other spare heads that I have laying around. Unfortunately, most of the other extra heads I have laying around for the Masters of the Universe Origins line are oddly shaped ones that don't really fit, especially because he's got this extra neck protector. So for example, Spikor came with 2 different heads. So I could display him with this extra Spikor head, but it doesn't really, the peg doesn't really fit on there. But I can kind of make it work, and I could just say this is a creature from Spikor's species that happens to be working as a palace guard. And that's not too bad, but like I said, it doesn't really fit on there tight. I also have an extra head for Leech. So again, I wouldn't say this is Leech in this armor, but I could say this is another member of Leech's species who has joined the palace guard. But it doesn't fit on there. Again, it's just an awkward shape because of that big mouth. The only one I have that does kind of work is this Cobra Khan head. So Cobra Khan came with a head with a big hood on it, like a cobra, and then he has this one without the hood. And that kind of works. It fits on there, it snaps in place. It's to scale. So you could say that one of the Stakemen has joined the Palace Guard, and that kind of works. You could go to another toy line. I tried out a couple. Like this one here is from Marvel Legends. It snaps on there, holds in place. Now this guy, he looks like a senior member of the Royal Guard. And the scale is pretty good. It's maybe a little bit small. But this is a Magneto head from Marvel Legends. The other heads I have from Marvel Legends are probably too small. It looks a little weird. But they could have been potentially cool for some fun creations. There's a Red Skull head. This one here kind of matches the color scheme. This is an extra head from the Hydra Trooper set. But again, it's just too small and ends up looking a little weird. Now, one of the ones I found that actually fits pretty well is the Thing. So that's, whoops. That does snap into place. And the scale's pretty good. If anything, it might be a little big. And the other problem I have with the Thing head is it's kind of too iconic as the Thing. I can't really look at this and try to imagine it's just some random rock warrior from Eternia. It's very clearly the Thing from Fantastic Four. Another one that I thought was kind of fun, but it's obviously a little too iconic to get away with as well, is this Optimus Prime head from the Ultimate Optimus Prime toy. Now, it doesn't snap into place, but with a little stick tack, I'm sure you could get it in there. So that makes for a fun kind of mashup. But anyway, none of them really worked out as well as I was hoping. So I'm probably just going to end up displaying him in my collection like this as a secondary version of Man-at-Arms. So next up is another figure that I'm not particularly excited about. This here is the Snake Man Infiltrator. So he might look familiar because, again, he's wearing that same armor as Man-at-Arms and the Palace Guard. because this is supposed to be an evil snake man who has infiltrated the palace guard. So it's a spy. The packaging, there's not much to note on there, except on the back you do see Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms. And then you do see another female character, just very small, kind of climbing up the mountain behind Man-at-Arms. I'm not sure if that's an established character or not. She's not a particularly exciting looking character, so I don't know if this is somebody that we're going to get in a future wave of toys or not. But anyway, just something to make note of. So anyway, here we are, Snake Man Infiltrator. So here he is next to Man-at-Arms. So you can see they look good together. Now we got a palace guard, just kind of a nameless trooper, a while back. And this is that figure. So you can see this guy here. He looks a lot like Man-at-Arms, but he's got his face covered. That's just to kind of signify that he's kind of a nameless grunt. They didn't really want him to look like anybody specific. Now his armor is a little bit different than Man-at-Arms. He had this kind of like eagle crest on his chest. He's got armor on both legs and on both arms, whereas Man-at-Arms kind of only favors like his left side there. So, you know, they match up. They're close enough, but they are a little bit different. You could customize this guy. So if you bought this figure multiple times, you could display one with maybe just armor on the right, some just armor on the left, maybe some with both. He came with different weapons, so you can display one with a sword and one with a spear. You know, it was an okay pack, but they definitely could have done some more with it. So this figure here is more of a repaint of this guy than Man-at-Arms, because he's got the double armor on his legs, the double armor on his arms, and he's got the eagle crest armor. He's got the full face mask. And this is where I think it's kind of lazy. I really think they should have given us an extra head that was unmasked, like a Snake Man face, because if you look at this guy, he's even got like hair coming out the back of the helmet, which is the same as like what this guy has. So all they've done is repaint this guy, who was a human with kind of an angry scowl in his eyes, and they have repainted it green with big red eyes. So there's nothing particularly snaky about it. You know, he doesn't have a longer snout, or he doesn't have scales. They just took this figure and painted him green. His armor is slightly different color. If anything, it's just lessened. Like you'll notice his armor here, there's no color difference in his symbol. His belt is all one color, whereas this guy here, he's got different color on his belt. He's got a different color emblem. So all they've done is kind of cheaped out and gave us this guy, painted him green. It just feels really lazy to me. I think an extra head would have gone a long way to make it feel like this figure was something a little different. But as it stands, it just feels like kind of a cheap cash grab. Now, part of the reason that I say that is prior to Masters of the Universe Origins, I collected a toy line called Masters of the Universe Classics, which was a line of like 7-inch figures that were a little bit more detailed. And so they had a Man-at-Arms in that line, and then they gave us a set of Palace Guards, except in that set you got 2 complete figures and 4 different heads to choose from. So you got 2 different human heads, one with light skin and one with dark skin, and you got 2 different alien species heads, because Eternia is populated with lots of different alien species. So here you see we've got a cat guy head, and we've got this lizardy or snaky guy head. And this is a really nice looking head. It's got a lot of personality. It's unique. It doesn't look like any of the other established snake men. And I really liked this set. It also had some other options where you could add the face shield to cover up their mouths if you wanted to. You could swap out the emblem on their chest. So this guy here has got the eagle like the other guys do, but this guy here has got battle damage. There was a lot of cool options. So seeing how far they went with this set, and then how much they dropped the ball on this Snake Man Infiltrator set, like if that figure here, they wouldn't have had to change anything. They could have given me the exact same body, the same weapons. But if they'd given me this head in the Origins like scale and everything, I think he would have been a cool figure. But instead, they just painted this guy's eyes green, and it's kind of lame. So it's not bad. I will display him. It does expand my world a little bit, gives me another palace guard to display, whether I consider him a good guy or a bad guy spy. But yeah, he's not too bad. And before I move on to the next figure, I just want to quickly point out that I found another head for my Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms that actually works pretty good. The size fits on there pretty good. It snaps into place. It's appropriately kind of barbaric. So yeah, this Thor head looks pretty good. I don't know if I'll display him this way. It's still a little too obviously Thor, but it's kind of fun. So next up, we've got Spikor. Now this is a character that I was excited to get. He is one of Skeletor's evil warriors, and he feels like a pretty core character to me. So I'm glad that we finally got him. There's not a whole lot to say about the packaging, although he does show two characters that we don't have in the Origins line yet. So on the back of the packaging, you'll see that he is fighting Extendar and Rockon, the Stone Warrior. So both of those guys would be cool to get in the Origins line. So the fact that they're on there bodes well for a future wave. So anyway, on to Spikor himself. He looks a lot like the vintage figure. He is nice and spiky, but not too spiky, because you don't want any kids taking their eye out or anything. But yeah, looks good. And I guess I will just quickly mention, I assume if you're watching this, you know about the Origins line by now, but in the off chance this is your first time maybe watching one of these videos, the Origins line are basically just the same as the vintage figures, except they've added a bunch of new articulation. So they've still got that kind of the same form factor, that same sort of design. They're still a little squatty, but you can bend their knees, you can bend their elbows, they spin at the wrist, their arms go out to the side instead of just forward and backwards. They can spin their heads up and down. So a lot more articulation than the vintage figures. But otherwise, they look a lot like the vintage figures. Now, I don't have a vintage Spikor to do a comparison, but I do have the Masters of the Universe Classics version, which I'll bring out here. So I am a fan of the Classics. I have a pretty close to complete collection of those guys. I thought they were great. So you can see he is bigger. He's a little bit more stylized, maybe a little bit more contemporary, but otherwise very similar. And I really like the Origins figures because of their kind of retro vibe. So both cool, but yeah, this guy is definitely a highlight, and definitely a highlight of this wave of figures. So for accessories, he's got his little spiky mallet there, or his club, and then he's got his spiky hand with a big fork. Now, I think the vintage figure had a claw hand like this that extended, probably with a lever. Now, a lot of these Origins figures, they don't have action features the way the vintage toys did, but what he does come with is another version of the claw, which you can plug in directly like that. So you can have it with like a little short claw or a long extended claw, so it kind of replicates the extending action of the vintage toy line. So yeah, a great look, great design on this kind of goofy, pig-nosed character. I don't know if I have a whole lot more to say, but that's probably okay, because I think I ranted a little bit too much with my other two figures. So why don't we move on to the last figure in the wave, which is probably my favorite. So lastly, we have the Snake Man Sssqueeze. So this guy is pretty cool for obvious reasons. You know, he's just a little different from all the other figures. A lot of the Masters of the Universe figures, dating all the way back to the vintage line, they reused a lot of parts. Especially like all the heroic guys had the same bodies, all the monster guys kind of had the same bodies. So it was really cool when you got somebody that was, you know, that kind of broke the mold a little bit. And Sssqueeze definitely did that with his big, long, snaky arms. So the packaging here, he also features a couple of characters, just like with Spikor, that we have not seen yet. So his packaging also features Extendor, who we saw on Spikor's packaging. So that's a really strong indicator that he's coming sometime soon. And then it also has like the cowboy character Rio Blast. So hopefully we get a Rio Blast sometime soon too. So anyway, Squeeze. Here he is. I did not have the vintage Squeeze when I was a kid, but I always thought he was really cool looking. I had some friends that had him. And so he has these wiry arms that you can bend so he can kind of put He-Man in a bear hug, kind of choke him out. And he has this weird little accessory, which is a snake with a gun coming out of his mouth or something. I don't know if this is supposed to be a club that he beats somebody with. And his face is a little weird because it's kind of more alligatory than snake, if you ask me. But anyway, very cool. I like him a lot. Now again, I guess I should mention, I usually cover this at least once in all of these review videos. But each of these Origins figures, they come with a mini comic, just like the vintage toys did, which give you a little bit of background on the character. So every figure in this particular wave came with the same comic. And you'll see here it's got Squeeze in it. It's got a Palace Guard. It's got Man-at-Arms with his Serpent Claw. So, you see Man-at-Arms flying there. He's got a Palace Guard with him. Let's see, I haven't actually looked at this yet, I don't think. But do we get the Infiltrator in there somewhere? Okay, yeah, here you go. So one of the Palace Guards is a Snake Man. Now, interesting to note is I don't think Spikor is in here anywhere. Usually all the characters from the wave are featured. Oh, there he is. He's got one panel at least. So there's Spikor. So besides the comic book, you also get a little kind of instruction panel that shows you which parts are removable. I don't really make use of this functionality because I don't really play with my toys. I just display them. But yeah, if you're a kid and you're playing with these, that's a pretty cool feature. Is that his arms pop off, his head pops off, his boots pop off. He separates at the torso there. So you can mix and match your figures and create lots of kind of interesting new characters. Anyway, Squeeze, pretty cool. I do have the classics version of him. So let me just bring him out. Very similar. The classics figures are just a little bit bigger, a little bit more detailed. But I think in Squeeze's case, like the difference is really hard to tell, like because this new Squeeze is really nice, and their arms, they both are very similar in style and how they work, and yeah, they're both really cool. This is a fun character, and I'm glad I got him. I think he's definitely the highlight of the wave. Him and Spikor are definitely much more interesting to me than Serpent Claw, Man-at-Arms, and the Palace Guard Infiltrator. So, anyway, yeah, a very cool wave. I like them. So that was my review of Masters of the Universe Origins Wave 14. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave me comments below. All of that is appreciated, and it helps the channel get recommended to other viewers and things like that. And yeah, if you're curious about a review of the Wave 13 figures, stay tuned. That probably will come in time. Anyway, I'll be back soon with another video. So I'll see you then. Ciao.